WebcastOneLive.com, the Legislative Hour with your hosts, Art Smith and Kevin Hall.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Iowa Legislative Hour. I am your host, Kevin Hall. Art Smith is previously detained this week, hopefully permanently detained, but no.
Well, define detained.
He is tied up this week, but glad to have three guests in the studio with us this week. Of course, our fairly frequent, almost weekly guest, Senator Brad Zahn from Urbandale. Brad, welcome.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
And new to the show, State Representative Jake Heifel, one of the freshmen in the Iowa House. Jake, good to see you.
Thank you very much.
And former Senator, now State Rep, Rob Bacon.
Thank you.
He switched to the good side.
It's nice to be in the majority.
Yeah, I bet. Well, since you guys are new to the show, I want to give you a chance to kind of introduce yourself to our audience. Tell us a little bit about your district and then a little bit about yourself. Rob, we'll start with you.
Okay. Again, Rob Bacon. I represent House District, almost said Senate District, House District 48.
The same mistake I made.
Well, I tell you what,
yes,
and I found out you don't call the Speaker Mr. President either when you're talking to him publicly. But House District 48 consists of all of Hamilton County, the southeast quadrant of Webster County, Boone County, the eastern part of Boone County, and only town I have in it other than Napier is a little town called Madrid on the about 6,000 people, not quite six, about 4,000 people. And then I also have little bits of Story County. So I have Slater, where our residence is at, and then I come up and around and catch Gilbert and areas north to the back up to the Webster County or Hamilton County line. And
when you're not in the legislature, tell us about what you do for a living.
Yeah, I see that grin. I see that grin on your face. Yeah, everybody wants to know. Ask Bacon what he does. I own 2 funeral homes. I'm a licensed funeral director. I've been licensed since 1981. And we also have a crematory. So I have an excellent staff that allows me to serve the people down here in Iowa. And the people that, the families we serve, understand that I have 2 jobs. And one of them is to represent them down here.
Glad to have you here this week.
Good to be here.
Let's go to Representative Heifel. And now, Jake, are you the youngest legislator we have in the state?
Yes, I am the youngest. I just turned 23 2 weeks ago. So
okay.
I was elected at 22.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about your district, which I am one of your constituents.
My district's Johnston, Grimes, 1 precinct in Urbandale, and also Jefferson Township. It's God's country. It's the best district in the state. Brad's my senator. Brad has the Urbandale part as well. But my district also has Camp Dodge in it. It's a great community to raise your family in. One of the best schools. I grew up there my whole life, so my first job was in the Hy-Vee right there in Emerald Hayes. So, and also when I went to, as you know, I just graduated from college, and I was at college. My major was business with exercise science. So when I'm not here, I work in the gyms all over. When I was in Iowa City, I worked at a gym called Got Strength, and when I'm here, I worked at a gym called Acceleration Iowa.
Okay. I'll ask you the same question that I like to ask of all freshman legislators. Is it everything you hoped and dreamed it would be, or has it been the most frustrating experience of your life?
I do love it. I'm not going to lie to you. I do love it. But I'll tell you one thing. It's so hard for me to have people that want to expand government, want to grow government, and I'm just completely opposite. It's hard that they're so far left, and I'm pretty to the right. It's hard for me to understand that they're so far left and not moderates. But I do really enjoy what I do.
Well, Brad, Senator Zahn's only going to be with us for the first part of the show, so have a few things we want to discuss with you. First of all, tell us why you're going to have to duck out early on.
Well, before I do that, I want to just thank the 2 of them for coming here. We're going to try to mix this up, get a little bit different people here. Rob, we miss you in the Senate. He was a great senator. He's doing a great job. He's probably the smartest guy in the Capitol because he actually went into the majority. And then
say that again, Brad. I just want to have my wife hear that.
It's on tape now.
Yeah, okay, wonderful.
And then Jake, I can tell you that he is part of the Senate district that I represent, and he's doing an outstanding job. We've had a lot of forums together, and he really, really is tackled the issues and very knowledgeable, so he's doing a great job for the people of Iowa as well. The reason why I'm leaving early is I got invited to be a keynote speaker in a rally in Iowa City. In Iowa City, the city government allows you to petition themselves if it's an issue that you disagree with. So there's a rally tonight, and we're going to come up with 2,500 signatures to get rid of the traffic enforcement cameras in Iowa City. Typically, I wouldn't do that, but I figured if those people are working that hard, I'll make the trip over there, and that's what I'm going to do tonight.
And Polk County residents got some unwelcome news this week for a lot of them.
Really think these governments are out of control with these traffic enforcement cameras. What Polk County is doing is they're going one step farther. They're going to put the GATSO cameras in each squad car. So when the police officers or the patrolmen are out driving around, what they'll be doing is this thing's going to be metered and finding out any car that's speeding. They're just going to automatically get a ticket in the mail, and the police officer doesn't even have to get out of the car, and it's going to be a way for them to collect a lot more money.
So if I'm doing 62 in a 60 zone on I-235, am I going to automatically get a ticket?
I don't know the details of that. I assume it's going to be like the 10-mile-an-hour rule that the GATSO companies already have done.
Okay.
And I just think it is just one more step. You know, the other news is the city of Windsor Heights just basically snubbed the Department of Transportation, who denied their request to put those traffic enforcement cameras on the interstate. And they say they're going to go out there and do that. Now, I've been told two different versions, which I haven't gotten to the bottom, is that it's going to be that little car that they put out there, which is a violation of the interstate. They should not be able to park a car there on the interstate, or they're going to put in the traffic enforcement cameras on the bridge. So I think that's really unfortunate.
Wow. Representative Heifel, your thoughts on traffic cameras?
I strongly dislike traffic cameras. I actually hate traffic cameras. Maybe not as much as Brad does, but I really don't like traffic cameras. I just found out reading the Des Moines Register a few days ago, the sheriff is going to put one on 141, which is in the middle of my district, between Grimes and Johnston. So when you head down the busy road right there, you're going to have two traffic cameras there when you jump on the 80 and when you get off from Johnston and Grimes. I do not want them in my district especially.
Wow. Representative Bacon.
I want to go back to Brad here a minute on this Windsor Heights. Is there an exit in this area or an entryway, or is it just kind of catching people as they're driving through?
The intention was to catch drivers as they proceed to the west through Windsor Heights, which is probably a 10-block area of the freeway.
Yeah. Okay. Now to answer your question, that stinks. Simply put. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a real fan of any government surveillance on me. Okay. So especially traffic cameras. I was up in your area last year. I think it was maybe the year before. I was headed over someplace, and this was an intersection, one of these red light cameras. And plenty of time, the fellow in front of me, the light had just gone from green to yellow, slams his brakes on, and I about went through his back trunk. And safety issues, I don't buy it. I just don't buy that these are safety issues. They're all, let's face it, they're for the money. They're generating a lot of money.
I've actually met with the DOT about this issue for the studies they've conducted. They said there's actually more accidents because of these rear-ended, a lot more rear-end accidents, small accidents, because of traffic cameras. Me, Walt Rogers, and John Lanen all met with DOT probably about a month ago, talking about these cameras.
Wow. So what can be done? I mean,
well, what I'm going to do, the House last year did pass an all-out ban and sent over to the Senate. Of course, I attempted to run an amendment to match up and be a companion to what they did exactly, and my amendment was ruled non-germane, which is really unfortunate because I had the votes. This is not a partisan issue, and I had the votes to pass that legislation, and the president ruled that it was non-germane and my amendment was out of order. So I will tell you that there will be other opportunities for me, and we will be, or I will be, with some of the other co-sponsors in the Senate, be running another amendment to get rid of these cameras.
Was there a separate bill that was filed in committee and didn't pass out of committee?
Yeah, there were several bills that were filed. I think I had 3 or 4. And there's others that had bills. I had a bill that said that the revenues have to go into an uninsured motorist trust fund. There was another one that said it goes to nonprofits. There's another one that said it goes to road use tax fund. And then, of course, I had one that said that it was limiting how much the camera companies could make. Like in Windsor Heights, the camera companies make over 60% cut. So when you send that check into Windsor Heights, about 40% or a little bit more than that goes to the city. The 60% goes to an out-of-country based camera company. So, and of course, just a plain all-out ban, which is what I'll run in the Iowa Senate.
Well, let's talk about some other issues going on at the state capitol. We're here with Senator Brad Zahn from Urbandale, Representative Jake Heifel from Johnston, and Slater. Am I correct? Representative Rob Bacon from Slater. Medicaid expansion that passed in the Iowa Senate earlier this week. Senator Zahn, your thoughts on Medicaid expansion? Obviously, it passed on pure party lines.
Absolutely. I'm behind the governor's proposal in the regards to the former Iowa Cares program, which they call it the Healthy Iowans Plan. It's not perfect. I know that there'll be negotiations on that. There's some questions about transportation and availability. I know that the governor is open-minded to do that. The Medicaid expansion just puts another 153,000 Iowans on the Medicaid rolls. The argument was that, listen, the federal government's going to pay 100% of that for the first 3 years, and after that, 90%.
Right.
Well, we all know what happens during the debate. Senator Whitford and others came out, and we definitely had a pretty heated debate and gave examples of when the federal government has promised that they would deliver on these programs and has failed to deliver. If we ever send people to Washington, D.C., that'll try to balance a budget. And when that happens, and I can't wait for it to happen, the first place that these federal congressmen and senators will probably cut is the state's assistance. Right now, we take about $6.8 billion in from Iowans.
Right.
Another $6 billion comes from the federal government. That'll probably be the first area that's cut. There was an amendment that was offered that said that if the federal government doesn't put in the monies that is expected, that we could sunset that program. Well, we could all look in Europe and see what's the reaction of people when you take away their benefits.
There's no way. Yeah, they're saying we'll let you opt out after 3 years. There's no way that in 3 years, after you've already gotten these people on the rolls, that politically it could not be done. It just there's no way that that we would be able to opt out of that. It would just be a disaster.
And so that's the reason why I happened to be out of town and I missed that vote. But that's the reason why I was opposed and all of my colleagues were opposed.
Representative Heifel, your thoughts on Medicaid expansion and as compared to the governor's. And I'm not sure the governor has released his full plan yet on the Healthy Iowa.
Not.
The governor has not released his full plan yet. His intentions, it will be out in the next few weeks, though, with a lot more detail. And then we will take it in the House and work with it a little bit, twist it the way we like it, and then send it over to the Senate. But I will not vote for expanded Medicaid. National debt's one of the biggest issues we have, and putting more people on a program that's going to fail eventually, it's going to hit rock bottom before it gets better. And the federal government is so out of line right now, I don't know what to do about it. I'd rather have us raise our general fund dollars and actually pay for it instead of going into debt to pay for it. And we can run programs a lot better here in the state of Iowa than the federal government can. So I will be supporting Governor Branstad's plan.
Representative Bacon.
And I agree. Jake is absolutely right. We can run our state better than the feds can. I serve on the Health and Human Services committees and things. And over the years, originally Medicaid was supposed to be no more than a 50-50. And I think right now we're down to 38-62, whatever, and it just went up that other 2% from the 60-40. Every time they go a point, I think it's something like $170 million. Am I right on that, Brad? It's up there.
It's close.
It's close to that anyway. So that's just on today's figures. Now let's throw another 153,000 people into this mix, and everything. And then if we have to pull back and start raising again at the end of 5 years,
3 years,
3 years, down to that 10%, we're going to be paying just about as much as we are right now for a program that's already broken. I know doctors who don't want to take Medicaid patients. So why in the world do we want to put 153 more people into a system that's broken, that's going to get absolutely no care? And what I like about the governor's plan, it's the first plan I have heard in 3 years that actually talks about making the recipient of the Medicaid, the one receiving the services, better.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. That's the purpose of this, isn't it? To make people better? And it's the first time in 3 years in this committee I've heard anything about making people better.
I'll tell you what, Brad and I got a few emails from people in Urbandale and Johnston that said, he goes, Jake, we can't even have a program now where I get paid. They're losing money, especially on pharmaceutical drugs. We had 2 pharmacists in my district email me, go, Jake, just please reimburse us more so we don't lose money on our services we provide before you expand the program.
Wow.
So,
what do you guys think is going to happen with this?
I think it'll be negotiated. Obviously, they're from the House. I would doubt that it will pass the House. I don't know where you are all out.
No, I seriously doubt this is going to pass the House. Senator Bolcom looked at me one time in one of the committee meetings, and he just whispered over in my ear, and he said, "Are you guys going to be passing this, or are we going to take the governors?" And I said, "I think we're taking the governors." And he said, "So we're listening to all of this for absolutely nothing." I said, "No, I think we're learning a few things about all of this, but we're not going to. I don't see this passing the House at all."
Democrats were very disappointed with the turnout. They're expecting hundreds of people to come for that vote. They had, 43 people. I was following Jason Noble on Twitter. He goes, kind of disappointed turnout. That's coming from those guys, which is awesome. So that made me kind of happy because a lot of people don't know about it. Once they learn what it's going to cost and everything else, they'll learn more about our plan.
And the other thing to remember, too, supposedly we can opt out. But let's just say the other states, it's working for them. Let's just say, for some reason, our logic would be wrong. I doubt that very much. But just in case, we don't have to be in this thing immediately. We've got years we can opt into it if we need to. I don't see that happening at all. But I want people to understand, come January 2nd, 2014, we're not throwing people out in the street or anything. We're going to take care of Iowans, and we're not going to throw them out on the street for anything.
Well, the Democrats' argument is this will be so much cheaper. It'll save us so much money. And it's, as Brad alluded to earlier, one, you can't trust the federal government with our tax dollars as it is. Number two, we don't know if the money will be there. And number three, it's still our tax dollars, whether it's through Governor Branstad's plan or through Medicaid expansion. It's still our tax dollars. It's the same.
People need to understand the government doesn't generate any money except that which they steal out of our paychecks every day. So I shouldn't use the word steal, but
they have to use force to pay taxes. Otherwise, you would never pay them.
Yeah.
Let's talk about another interesting piece of legislation that did pass in the Iowa Senate this week. Brad, one of your favorite topics, education reform.
Right. I was very disappointed in what happened. The debate was on the Democratic side. The floor manager was arrogant. He mistreated one of our members.
Right, and this was Senator Cornbach and
Amy Sinclair.
Senator Sinclair.
We offered a lot of great amendments. I'm very vocal on what I think we need to do with education. All the amendments, most of the amendments, were ruled non-germane. And what was very unfortunate, and I said this on the floor yesterday, it's because they didn't want to take a vote. They did not want to take a hard vote and find out where we are. There was a lot of benefits for teachers, and there was nothing in the Senate bill that will improve student performance. And until we have the conversation about the two key items to change the culture in our schools, we have the best teachers in the world in Iowa. We don't have a teacher's problem. The minimum standards that were passed doesn't even affect the school districts that we, the two of us, represent. We have got to have a conversation about two things. One is the broken curriculum that we're teaching our students, which is the core curriculum, with a new math, and the teaching methods that are being taught. We got to get back to phonics. And until we have that conversation, we're never going to be able to improve student performance. I mentioned on the floor, I had the opportunity to listen to Milton Freeman give his last public speech out in San Francisco at a conference I was at. And the question was asked is, what do we need to do to increase student performance in our schools? And he said there's only one way you could do this, and this was an amendment that was offered by some of my colleagues, and that is 100% scholarship. Let parents get more involved in deciding where they want to go to school. Listen, we represent public schools, and I'm not familiar with yours, Rob, but we represent Johnson Schools as one of the most highest performing schools in the state of Iowa based on their student performance. This bill would give 100% control to these parents to pick what schools they want to take their kids to. And unfortunately, they ruled that non-germane. We had other amendments out there in regards to following and grading the performance of the kids that were thrown out. And it's unfortunate that happened. And until we have these conversations, we're not going to have improvement in our schools. And so I was really disappointed in what happened in the Iowa Senate.
Going back to the little brouhaha between Senator Cornbach and Senator Sinclair, because they got some media publicity, can you tell us what happened there?
Well, what happened is she had an amendment on trying to measure student performance. This amendment wasn't a complicated, but as you probably could tell, some of these bills, you really need to have a law degree just to figure them out. Mm-hmm. And he got he challenged our rule on germaneness, and she really was in the code where the president could not rule that this was non-germane. Well, the president made a ruling, which was different than the previous rulings, that said it's germane to the issue, and it really upset him and said, okay, Senator Sinclair, let's go into the bill. And he asked her for a definition of a very complicated term. And she really, she explained what was going on, but he was trying to do a gotcha. Mm-hmm. Well, we could do that to every senator or representative in a bill about that. And, of course, Senator Shelgren got up and really lit into him and got called Rule 9 at least a couple times. But I just thought the arrogance of Senator Cornbach and the treatment of females, which I've seen happen in the past.
Yes, this isn't the first time this year.
Right. And so, I think it was unfortunate that it happened. We did get, of course, a vote on it, and, of course, the vote went down on party lines.
And, of course, Senator Sinclair, another freshman legislator from the Pella area, from Marion County.
She's actually from around the Osceola area, just not that town. But
sure, isn't it?
No.
I'll tell you what, first time I was always in the House, had my first subcommittee on education, came together with Senator Cornbach. Senator Cornbach got so angry. Never been over the Senate in my life. I'm in the House, we're in the majority, we run up whatever bill we want, go over there. He got so angry over what we were doing, he stormed out the middle of the subcommittee meeting. First time I met him, I just go, and I walked down and talked to Brad and Jack, and I'm like, is this real life? And apparently that's how he treats people and reacts to situations.
Wow. Senator Bacon, we have the House has passed an education bill. The Senate has passed an education bill. Governor Branstad has his own bill. Which one is the best one, and what's going to happen with all three of these?
I think the House has the best bill, obviously. Or else we wouldn't have spent a lot of hours debating this and getting it done. It comes down to, and Brad's got it, he's absolutely right on this. Parents need to be able to choose where they want to send their kids to school. And if my school isn't offering the best classes for what I want my kids to have, or if they're offering some weird stuff, but this other class isn't, or school, I ought to be able to send my kid there, have the tax dollars follow that kid there, even if it's to a private school, parochial school. So that's, Brad's absolutely right on that. Have the dollars follow the kid on this.
Go ahead.
I think this governor's bill is a step in the right direction. I don't think the bill's perfect. I like the House bill a lot. It does a lot of good things. I do not think it's perfect, though. I agree with both of them exactly. We need to go that direction. I hope this is just a stepping stone. Next few years, we can get to that point. It's actually happened in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina because they wiped out all the schools. So the private schools build up like that because they don't have regulations nearly as much. Mm-hmm. And now we're never going to go back. All the people down there said it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to our school system, everything like that. So that's hopefully one day we can get to that point.
Senator Zahn, anything else going on in the Senate this week or coming up that you want to touch on before you have to head out?
We were very busy this week. We did a lot of different bills, a lot of bills that were a waste of the taxpayers' time that'll go nowhere. That's what's frustrating. We have so many bills that we fully know that will not go anywhere in the Iowa Senate or the Iowa House. So, in regards to next week, I have not heard what we're going to be debating, but we're getting down to where we're doing a lot of debate. We have Senator Courtney back, which is great. And so we have a full attendance of our members and certainly the people in the majority party, because if we do anything controversial, he has to have everybody sitting in their seats because he's at 26.
Right.
So I haven't heard what's going on next week, but I'm anticipating, the big news is the regents. I mean, we don't know what's going on with the regents. There's some other appointments as well that are going to be very important. And I know that there's going to be legislation. The big news for next week for all of us is it's the third funnel date.
Right.
So next Friday, all the bills that are out, I assume will be busy, and you all will be busy. They have got to be shot out of one chamber to stay alive.
Since you touched on the regents issue, of course, last week we went in depth about your opposition to Governor Branstad's three nominees. He says he's sticking behind them. I know he sent a letter, I believe, to all 50 senators. Craig Lang has done the same. Is your stance still the same? Or are you still in opposition?
Well, I still believe in what I said in regards to sending, a message that I want to see more average, ordinary parents. I want them to have the appropriate background to make good decisions. Typically, business people have that. But I said at the same time, I reserve my right to change my vote. At this time, I can tell you that I'm open-minded.
Okay.
And it's not because of any political pressure or any donor calling me or anything like that. I certainly recognize what Robert Kramer has done for the Johnson School District, so I'm open-minded about him. And the other two, I'm really kind of undecided right now about what I'm going to do.
Okay. You are watching and listening to the Iowa Legislative Hour. If you want to join the conversation, the number is 855-244-0077. Senator Zahn has to duck out of here, but Brad, we appreciate you coming by for the first half hour.
It's an honor to be on your program. You're in good hands. I would love to see him tell a joke at the end of the program. Great joke.
Not going to happen.
Okay.
Not going to happen.
Oh, we'll corner him into something.
Okay.
We'll be back with Representative Heifel and Representative Bacon. You're watching the Iowa Legislative Hour on Webcast One Live.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
And welcome back to the Iowa Legislative Hour. I am your host, Kevin Hall, and our guests this week are Representative Jake Heifel from Johnston and Representative Rob Bacon from Slater. Gentlemen, let's talk about something that 71% of Iowans are in favor of, but the Democratic Party, their elected leaders obviously are not, and that is voter ID.
Okay.
I know you've tried to get this passed in the House, and, well, you have passed it in the House, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Do you understand the Democrat opposition to this bill?
I have no idea as to why they would be opposed to making sure that the person who's voting is the right person who's voting. I have no idea as to why they would oppose that.
Representative Heifel, your thoughts on voter
I cannot
ID?
believe they're opposed to this. We ran this bill out of state government, and I was the vice chair of state government. We ran it out of there. Their arguments, every argument they had, was shot down. Oh, if you can't, for example, what if they can't afford ID? It's actually a free ID. If you just need an ID card, it's free at the DOT. You don't have to, not a driver's license, just a simple card that says who you are. Oh, let's say that you need help. Every example we had it. Well, here says that you can do this and that. So all their arguments are invalid. Every one of them voted no, though.
One of the arguments that I have heard, Representative Writing, a fellow freshman, who a little bit older than you, though, even though you're the same.
A young kid, yeah.
Yeah. And he talks about people in nursing homes. People in nursing homes, a lot of them, their driver's license expired. They don't have IDs. What could be done about that?
We had a picture ID. It didn't even have to be that. It was down to, it could be a water bill saying you live here with a student ID. It could be, it goes fishing ID. It was so far out there that it was just a picture saying who you are with some kind of state ID. It could be a college ID, whatever it be. Nursing homes, and first of all, nursing homes do help you outvote. So that's kind of a bad argument
that's
there.
a good point.
They come in with their people, nonpartisan. That's the big thing with that. A lot of times, Obama's got the vote machine would come in with their Democrats and help people out to vote. So we're trying to do. We passed the bill. What's that last week? They really got down to this issue. What happens is we have nonpartisan people drive to those places. People work for the Polk County Auditor and say, "Here, we'll leave you in your privacy. You have 15, 20 minutes, whatever you need to fill the ballot out. If you need help, let us know." So that was an argument. We got rid of that argument really quick.
My thought, too, the people say, oh, we can't get a photo ID to people. If we can get an absentee ballot in their hand, we can definitely get a photo ID of these people.
Right.
It might take an extra day or two to do it, but it just makes sense to me. And again, anytime we have any kind of a protection for the voter and for the system, our Democrat friends are there to shoot it down because their what ifs are just not they just don't stop with the list. And you have to sit there and listen to everything. And I'm sure you're going to find one person who maybe won't be able to get a photo ID to vote. But if you can get an absentee ballot to them, you can get this.
I forgot to tell you about this. Also in state government or at the probes, we voted on a bill that it blew my mind. It's my freshman year. I'm like, maybe there's moderate Democrats, but we passed a bill that said that we could not spend more than we take in. That's all the bill is. But right now, it's not in our Constitution. So we're like, hey, let's put this in the Constitution so everybody knows Iowa's a fiscally responsible state. And we went through there on appropriations, passed it. I ran the bill with our chair, Chuck Soderberg. My mind was blown that every single one of them argued about it, why we can't pass this bill, why we can't do this, and whatnot. My argument was that even if you believe in big government, you still have to pay for it. Right. Even if you go, you know what, government should pay for everything, you still have to pay for it. It's not free. And so that was one of those things I forgot to tell you about earlier, is that it blew my mind that the straight party lines, every one of them voted no.
Well, and that's something Governor Branstad ran on because the previous administration, the Culver administration, was spending more than they were taking in each year.
$1.17 for every dollar we brought in.
That's right. And Governor Branstad said, we are not going to do that. We're going to go with the 99% rule. And then the Senate Democrats this year, they put out a budget which they claim only spends 94% of what they take in. But they are counting the entire $600 million surplus along with it, which a lot of that is one-time money. It's not going to be there in future years.
The actual budget that they submit spends $1.05 for every dollar they come in with. Okay, it's still, what part of we lost big time in 2010 don't they understand? You cannot spend more than you bring in. It is the law. It's not the Constitution, but it is our law. You can spend only 99% of what's brought in. And by submitting a budget like this, they're breaking the law. And we're the bad guys.
And don't let them fool you when they tell you what they try to do is they fudge with the numbers. They actually use January's new fiscal numbers. By law, state law, you have to use the most conservative estimate from December. We are using that. Ours spends 98.7%, something like that. They go, you guys only spend 88%. No, you're guessing that we're going to have all this money. We don't have it yet. We're only spending what we have. And they don't believe in using reserve funds. They don't believe for rainy day funds. All their plans, none of that's full.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to talk about another bill that I think it passed this week, and it's based on something called Katie's Law, based on a girl who was murdered in Colorado a few years ago. This is in relation to DNA collected, and I think the original push was trying to collect DNA from anyone accused of an aggravated misdemeanor or worse. You gentlemen passed if they're convicted of an aggravated misdemeanor. Did you support that bill?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Why did you decide that was?
Okay, let's just have a data bank. We have, let's just call DNA our modern fingerprints.
Okay.
Okay, a fellow's arrested. He's gone in. He's fingerprinted. Let's just take some DNA as well. It could either save him later on, or it can convict him. Either way. So our Democratic friends were saying, "Oh, you want a bank so that if somebody breaks." It's almost like you're encouraging someone. I couldn't understand their logic on the thing, but it was just,
unbelievable.
Oh, so you're just grabbing everybody's DNA and then trying to match somebody with a crime type of a deal, is the way it came across. But no, if we have fingerprints on file, DNA should be on file as well. And the only people I found out identical twins do have identical DNA, but their fingerprints are what can separate someone once in a while if there's ever a question. However, we had, not too long ago, two people who had been serving, I think it was 27 years, a life sentence in prison for a murder that they didn't commit. DNA evidence would have gotten them out of there quicker.
Right.
Okay, and at the time they didn't have it, and I also believe there was some evidence that was withheld. But the idea that we had the DNA evidence today, these fellas never would have been in jail.
And you don't get this fingerprint for a simple, traffic ticket or whatever. It has to be aggravated assault or misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor,
excuse me. And so it's a little more serious than you think it is. It's not a simple, jaywalking ticket. You don't get it for stuff like that.
Right. I know in 2010 this was part of Governor Branstad's public safety initiative, and he had worked with Sergeant Jim Butlers with the Des Moines Police Department and some other people that helped put that together. And I know the public safety people were hoping that it would be anybody who was arrested or charged with an aggravated misdemeanor or more. But I think this is a step in the right direction because, as you mentioned, not only can it exonerate innocent people, but it can help solve some unsolved cases. And we know there are some very high-profile unsolved cases here in the Des Moines metro area that, and unfortunately up in Evansdale as well, that we're still wondering what happened.
And it doesn't take much to get the DNA. Your attacker comes at you and you scrape his face, they get that out from under your fingernail and boom, there we go. We have the blueprint to the guy who did this to us.
That's right. So. You were watching the Iowa Legislative Hour. Kevin Hall, along with Representative Jake Heifel and Representative Rob Bacon, will be back with more to talk about the Iowa Legislative Hour when we continue. Stay with us.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back to the Iowa Legislative Hour. Kevin Hall, along with Representative Jake Heifel from Johnston, Representative Rob Bacon from Slater. Gentlemen, let's talk about a hot topic around the nation, and that being gun laws right now. President Obama, I think, gave a press conference today, say, let's not forget the children of Newtown. He's still obviously pushing gun regulations. A bill that kind of helps gun owners, I think, and protects a lot of people, passed overwhelmingly in the House just last week, sponsored by Representative Winshittle, and that was to keep the identities of gun owners, who are people who have gun permits, keep that out of the public realm.
Right, permit to carries, keep them out.
Right. What did you think about that bill?
I thought it was a great bill. I really did. There is no need for people to know who does have a gun, and more importantly, who doesn't have a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, remember this, an armed society is a polite society. And that was told to me from an old cowboy. Okay. And but there is no need at all to find out when you can go to public records and literally cherry pick what house, who you want to rob, knowing that they can't fight back with legal or with lethal force anyway, if they feel threatened. And we have the right to defend ourselves.
Right.
We also have the right to privacy on this. So I don't want anyone knowing whether or not I have or do not have a permit to carry.
And this spurred kind of from something going on at your old college, at the University of Iowa.
Yes.
They were telling the local sheriff's department who had gun permits and who didn't.
And the sheriffs might have been breaking the law there, because with the new law, you could only deny somebody a permit if they're mentally handicapped or a felon. They were looking at, GPA, all these different things and everything else. That's against law. You have to give it to them. You have to ask your government for permission to buy a gun, which is ridiculous to me. But so I support the bill, obviously. I was going to sign on to the bill. But it passed the House with 94 votes to 4 Democrat votes. I believe they're Hunter, Murphy, and somebody else who voted no on that. But it passed well, 94. And I do think it's a great step in the right direction. I really do believe that this will help people understand that we're trying to do the right thing here. And I want everybody to know that I do have a permit to carry. So I'm okay with people knowing that, so they don't break into my house in the future.
Yeah, don't be messing with me either.
Just so you know.
Well, something that to me is just mind-bogglingly stupid that the Des Moines Register did yesterday. They published an interactive map that show which schools have armed security guards in the state and which don't.
You gotta be kidding me.
No, I wish I was.
Oh man. Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Nope, it doesn't. So now let's just go ahead and tell everybody our kids here are totally unprotected. We're at the mercy of a teacher who hopefully can hide her kids in time. And that's all this does. It does not protect the kids. It opens them up for danger. It opens those teachers up for danger. It opens everybody up. And there's no way you can protect yourself.
And I'll tell you what, it's a blessing. It's very, very expensive to hire these full-time cops. And I'm blessed in my district to have more than one cop in all my schools. But that's not cheap. That's something most schools cannot afford, and I'm blessed. So I was over at the Senate watching the education debate, and Mark Shelgren came out, added an amendment that would allow teachers with permit to protect themselves. And no one can know, not even the principal knows, but they have a right to protect themselves. And he gave a great, passionate speech on the floor, and he was just like, I'd rather have a bad guy dead or give it a chance to fight than have these innocent kids killed for no absolute reason whatsoever. Because you have a gun-free zone, which doesn't really work, obviously. Yeah. So it was ruled non-germane, and I would have voted for it in a heartbeat. But
and we've had Senator Shelgren on the show before too. And I think about this bill, and I think about my time in school. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago, I had some crazy teachers when I was a kid. And I'm not sure if I wanted any of them to be armed. In fact, I know I didn't. Representative Bacon, your thought on allowing teachers to carry guns in schools?
Okay, there's to get a permit to carry. It wasn't a shall issue, but may issue, and I got mine when it was a may issue. To be honest with you, I wish we still had some requirements. To go out and qualify shooting with that and everything. Make sure the teacher under stress, make out anybody who was under stress of some kind, just not be able to, I don't want to say not to carry, protect themselves, but I do wish we had just some kind of a check on that. Now, I know what you're talking about, crazy teachers. I had one that used to throw erasers at kids all the time, too. But I seriously doubt Mr. Anderson would have pulled a .38 out and shot the kid because he was sleeping in class. Yeah, now, crazy is a word we try to avoid sometimes, but I know what you're saying. Go ahead, Jake. I know you're chomping at the bit here.
I'm just saying that when it comes down to, my mom used to say she got beat with the ruler. Just so you know, that is not happening anymore. I just came out of the system. Yeah. It's very different now. If the teacher mouths back, parents get upset. Teachers are a little more calm now.
Yeah. So, very much so.
Let's talk about a bill that you pushed, and that is hunting with crossbows.
Oh, yeah, the William Tell Bull bill. For some time, I've had some people talking to me about the possibility of going deer hunting with a crossbow. Personally, I like to deer hunt. I do the early season muzzleloader. I enjoy the archery season and all as well. Just something about getting out in the woods, and sometimes just because you see a deer, you don't always shoot it. But every now and then I thought it'd be fun to have a crossbow out here. And the people who have a shoulder disability, or if you're older than 70, you can go ahead and get a crossbow and use that in the regular archery season. Well, I really don't want to use this in the regular archery season. I don't want to use a crossbow messing up the hunting for the early muzzle loaders, and definitely I don't want anybody out there with the shotgunners because you never know what they're going to be shooting at. Okay?
Right.
So there's a last season of muzzle loading for deer in Iowa. With that, we are allowed to harvest a deer with a muzzle loader, archery, or a handgun, as long as it's not a tapered bullet of any kind, straight cartridge. And I thought this would be a good spot to put on a crossbow hunt. So I talked to the the archery season, the Bow Hunters Association, their lobby, and they had some real hard issues with this at first. And we began to discuss the fact that, no, this is only to be after the archery season for that last muzzleloader. So they went to their group. Their group had no major heartburn with it. There are some purists who just hate crossbows. Okay. I see Jake raising his hand over here.
No.
Oh, you don't hate them?
No, just go ahead. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I saw you do this.
No, I was like this.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you get this idea from watching The Sopranos?
No.
Because there's one of the HBO channels, and I have all 15 of them or whatever, and they're rerunning all 6 seasons of The Sopranos. And one that was on this week, Bobby Bacala was talking about how he now hunts with a crossbow all the time.
Okay. So, well, they're extremely accurate.
Totally irrelevant to the conversation.
Yeah, that's fine. No. I tell you what, I have no desire for a crossbow. And now you got me off there.
Terrible
it was great. So, and I was trying to do The Godfather.
Yeah,
but anyway,
the
bow hunters really hate them. But as long as it didn't interfere with their season, they were okay with that. So talked with the DNR people in our committees and with the bow hunter lobby, and we worked out an agreement that this would be just for the last season. No additional required license, just another weapon to choose to harvest a deer. I did some quick running the figures in my head as to how much a bow or a crossbow would be in the arrows and the bolts, I guess what they're called and everything. And it's about $600 to get set up in it. And I know there are going to be at least 1,000 people that will be interested in this to buy that and do that. So you look at the 5% of $600,000, it's $30,000 sales tax that this will generate. plus other stuff that comes along with it. So it's not a bad deal for the state. And, of course, it means I'll take one with the crossbow instead of the Suburban this summer or winter.
And what's the status of the bill right now?
It passed 99-0, I think, yesterday. We were missing one person in the House.
Okay.
And I was talking to Dick Dearden today. He saw me. He will be running the bill over in the House. I've been talking with him.
In the Senate.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, okay.
From whence I came. And he saw me, and we talked a little bit. He said that they were going to run the bill through today. He was going to try to get it run through today as a committee on the whole, which means it's bypasses all the subcommittees, and next week they'll be able to debate it on the floor. He thinks it's going through.
Interesting.
So now, if we can get that through, now we just need to go down to the governor, and when he signs it, I can't give him a crossbow or a bolt, but I can give him an apple.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Representative Heifel, any legislation in particular that you're working on at this time?
Actually, I'm working on to eliminate the capital gains bill here in the state of Iowa. I really do believe taxing savings, retirement, stock options is one of the worst ideas we could do going forward in the future. This is from people that my generation, they're not going to have Social Security, not going to have all these programs that were around for people that are older than me. So I do believe that trying to encourage people to save and invest in stocks and invest in 401k is the way to go. Because as you guys know, after January 1st, the federal tax rate went up for capital gains by 5%. So now with the state of Iowa tax and their tax is 28.9%.
Wow.
It's the top rate. For most people, it's about 24, 25. But I'll tell you what, that's a lot of pay on your savings, retirement, and stock options. So I'm going to file a bill. I'll get the fiscal notes soon and find out how much it's going to cost the state. But I really do believe this one a step in the right direction. I'll have the bill filed this summer.
All right. Interesting.
That'd be good. We talking about savings with taxes and everything. I'm serving the Veterans Committee as well. And we, in the House anyway, and we've passed through a committee, a bill that if you are a retired veteran living in Iowa, your pension or retirement pay from the military will be exempt from Iowa tax as income tax. Now, if you have other 401s with other places you've worked, that will be taxable. But your military pay, retirement pay, will not be taxable. What we're trying to do is make sure that instead of retiring in Texas or Florida where there's no income tax, hey, come back to Iowa. We love you. And we've got great winters here.
What's the status of that?
What happened was we just passed it out of subcommittee Wednesday. It's also part of Hy-Vee's. There's two capital gains bills there right now. The other one is a small business bill for, say, for example, when you retire, you own your barber shop. When you retire, you don't have a savings. You sell your business. That's your retirement. So we're trying to have a small business bill like that. We're taking steps in that direction right now. Chris Hagenow passed the bill out of subcommittee Tuesday. It'll be in Ways and Means. Probably next week, Monday or Tuesday.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I know the bill that I was talking about was read into the Journal. I don't know when that will become up for debate.
And I mean, my feeling is we can't do enough for our veterans. So I think that's a great piece of legislation.
I tell you what, you and I have the right to sit here and speak today.
That's right.
Because these guys, and there are those who know the cost of freedom.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, I'm
Thank
blessed.
God
I have Camp Dodge in my district.
Right.
I went out to meet General Orr and the captain, and I'll tell you what an upstanding person he is. He leads that state. Everybody loves him, up and respect for him. He gave a speech to us as well. But I went out there, a beautiful facility, very fiscally responsible. Instead of cutting people off during this military times, he is taking his own pay, stealing, everything like that. He's just doing the greatest things possible for our troops. And he asked for very little in our budget, too, and we gave everything he asked for.
Wow. Something that's been debated the last few legislative sessions and really hasn't gotten anywhere is property tax reform. Are we going to see anything done this year?
Boy, I want to say, I sure hope so. Go ahead, Jake, you're on that.
I actually was assigned to the bill in subcommittee. The bill is a very modest bill. It's not. I want more. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I want a lot more, but it will do some good things. I'll roll back commercial and industrial property tax by 20% for 4 years. We backfill it for 4 years, and then we cap it. But also, one thing about that is if we do not do something now, because trust me, we want a complete rollback for all commercial property, residential, and everything else. So what we're going to do is we're going to cap the growth of residential because 2%.
2%.
We're going to cap the growth at 2% because we do not do that in the upcoming years because of the fact that residential is tied to agriculture. What will happen is it will shoot up about 17, 18% in the next 5 or 6 years because land prices for farming is going up so much. So right now, we're going to cap it. I know it's not everything we want. I know it's not a huge cut, but it's for sure going to stop the growth, and it for sure will help out bring business to the state of Iowa.
What's going to happen with that in the Senate?
Well, hopefully, we're trying to stack up our chips right now. We have passed income tax reform, which is huge.
Yes.
We passed, we have a few capital gain bills out there, and we also have the property tax bills, and we'll have those stacked up, and they'll have their Medicaid stuff right here, and probably more tax increases because that's what they have to do.
Right.
So, and Speaker Paulson, Majority Leader Upmeyer will get together with the appropriations chairs, Chuck Schotterberg, and I'm not sure who's in the Senate actually, but they will come together with Majority Leader Gronstel and figure everything out, see what we can get done this year. And if we have to go home, if we stay here a little bit longer, that's fine. I don't want to, but.
Well, Jake, my first year, we didn't get out until June 30th at 4 o'clock.
Wow.
And as I was leaving, I got a phone call from one of the news reporters, and he said, Senator Bacon, what does it feel like? And I said, I feel like a fifth-grade kid getting out of school for the summer. It was wonderful.
But an abbreviated summer at that.
Yeah, that it was. Thank goodness we didn't have a campaign that year. So, yeah.
If you could pass one piece of legislation, one ideal bill this year, what would that be for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I thought it was all going to be softball
That's why
questions
I get the big
here.
bucks.
Yeah, okay, you too, huh? I seriously, I think it would come down to property tax reform. That would be one of them, and the other is mental health financing. That would, seriously, I wish we had a magic wand for mental health. The more I'm involved with this, the more complicated it is. There's no easy answer.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a work in progress, and the magic wand would be to cure all of everybody, but that's not the case. But I think we need to not necessarily put more money into it, but look how we can effectively deliver services that make a difference to these people, the people that are needing that. So that would be my magic wand bill.
All right. Representative Heifel, same question. If you could pass one bill, your ideal piece of legislation this year, what would that be?
Completely get rid of the income tax in the state of Iowa.
Good one.
The reason I would say that is because I really do believe that would put us at a great competitive advantage with other states around here. And if we do have that, we have that going forward. Yes, it'll cut about 1.7, 1.8 billion from the budget, but I really do we can outgrow that. I believe if we get rid of the income tax, in a few years we'll outgrow that like nothing, and I believe that will help out.
Yeah, and you've got the facts and figures behind you, the history that whenever the taxes are taken away, it comes up.
Look at Florida.
Yeah.
People move there because there's no income tax, no capital gains, and they just rock it. And granted, it's a little warmer there, but I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah, they've got humidity too.
Oh, man. Big guys sweat. You don't want that. But I'll tell you, that's one bill I would completely do, and I would love to do that.
Now let's talk about the most important part of the show.
Oh, obviously.
Okay.
And you guys recognize the Pella Tulip Festival in the House yesterday, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Could you tell us what happened with that?
Well, first of all, they come in and they have their little Dutch letters, and I always ask for a Q or a G, because they always come in S's, but this time they were just in little dash marks. So it was an interesting thing. And, of course, they introduced the court and the queen, and they introduced their parents. And as Jake will tell you, that the queen, very attractive young lady, very articulate
Amazing speech.
and smart. And go ahead.
She had one of the most, for her age, couldn't believe it. Got right up to the speaker's mic and just started going off and remembered everybody's name. I'm like, this is really impressive for a young gal. She gets up there with Speaker Paulson, who's standing right there, and she goes, Speaker Paulson, for you to get your Dutch letter, you have to give me a kiss on the cheek.
At this point, I turned to the guy next to me and started singing, "Put your two lips a little closer." Okay, go ahead.
And for you guys don't know this, his son, his youngest son, is his page. His name is Keith. He goes, Keith, get up here. Grabs Keith on the shoulder, puts him right here. And at this point in time, we're all clapping, encouraging him on.
And Keith is turning red.
Keith, and I'm like, let's go, Keith. And no, she goes, no, Mr. Speaker, it has to be you. And this girl's probably 17 or 18. I'm just like, very impressive. She cornered Speaker Paulson, and Speaker gave her a kiss on the cheek for Dutch letters, and we all clapped.
Wow.
It was
Standing ovation, I believe.
Yeah, we stood up. It was one of the funniest I've seen. Speaker was red. It was good.
Classic. Well, gentlemen, thank you for stopping by today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Representative Rob Bacon from Slater and Representative Jake Heifel from Johnston.
I appreciate it.
And you have been watching the Iowa Legislative Hour on Webcast One Live.